Zhongshan Fucheng Industrial Investment Company Limited, a Chinese firm, has released one of the seized Nigeria's presidential jets. Recall that Zhongshan, the Chinese firm, had secured a court order to confiscate 3 Nigerian presidential jets pending when it receives $74.5 million awarded to it against Nigeria. The spokesperson of the company, who made this known to newsmen on Friday, said the company released the aircraft because President Bola Ahmed Tinubu would need it to travel to a scheduled meeting with President Macron of France early next week. Asims, you're smiling.
Yes.
What is your take on this matter?
It's an affront of the Nigerian sovereignty and suzerainty. It's a declaration of war on Nigeria by China. Under international laws, some other countries would have engaged the Chinese, foreign minister or the ambassador, if they have it here, to find out why this has happened, because it's a coup. Under international law, there is no nation. I have not seen already about where a nation's sovereign asset is confiscated by a court of law or even a country. The only time such was even proposed was the time the Russian-Ukraine war, took place, where sanctions were placed on Russia and Vladimir Putin and his friends. You find out that even Chelsea, a very popular football club, was part of that problem, where the owner was divested of all his wealth and holdings in that particular whatever. That was it. They were able to do that because it was a private individual. If it were to be the asset, a sovereign asset of Russia, it wouldn't be that easy. It's like taking up and closing our embassy or high commissions in another country. Even as it is, under international laws, the moment a sovereign asset like our embassy, the aircraft, or the president, of the country is touched, you have declared war on that particular country. It means that under international law, then the country has the right of retaliation. But in this particular case, I feel sad in the sense that China, before now, we have been warning the influx of Chinese firms and their influence over Nigeria. China was one of those who took over the economy of Uganda, Tanzania, and today the economies of these countries are bedridden. Now, when you find out that you now allow China to foray, aggressively, ferociously into our men, especially the economic side of it, I was very worried that the last administration had to even take loan from China. A particular minister, came and was boasting on air that the agreement he had with China is not the one that we sell our sovereign asset, as the case may be, when they were taking this loan to construct railways, as the case may be. But time will tell. This one has just given an example that the Chinese people are not sincere with Nigerians. The Chinese people are not sincere in Nigeria. Something drastic must be done by the government, an investigation carried out. Let me tell you, do you know that this particular transaction is just at a P-I-D, P-I-and-D, transaction that a court in the UK, said Nigeria should pay 2.2 billion to that P-I-and-D company. But when Nigeria had to apply and now join issues with that particular company, it was found that P-I-and-D was a fraudulent contraption that wanted to fleece Nigeria of 2.2 billion. It's a similar thing that is happening here. The Nigerian government must stand up firmly against this company and prosecute them in accordance with our laws. Some of the officials are still present in Nigeria here. Now, what am I talking about? Do you know that on-site investigation and visit to that particular area was found that the only thing this particular company did in the so-called free zone, export free zone, was just a fence They have not even built the I don't know what they call it. They call this, I forgot the name they use in this dry dock or whatever they call it, as case may be. In the warehouse, there's no warehouse there. That place ought to be, an export-free zone where materials can come from different part of the country and you export outside Nigeria to China. You process them, then you have industries that process cashew, corn, etc. in the mode they want it in China and export to China without taxing the company. As case may be, go and make your money and come back in Nigeria to invest. But none of these things were on ground. He ran into hectares of land. That was the reason why the Ogun State governor, because this thing happened as far back as 2007. 2007, nothing is on ground. They did not even employ Nigerians. They just acquired that wide expanse of land, denying the original owners of that land for using that land for farming purpose, as case may be. Then 2010 or thereabout, the governor had to ask a question. What exactly is going on here? What exactly is the problem that we are having, that this land is so fallow? He made inquiries and found that this is what happened. They came and acquired almost half of Ogun State by a company in China and no activity is done. That was why I had to go and revoke that particular, CFO. The revocation might not be in line with the laws of Nigeria. If they are challenged in court here, I would have understood. But it didn't happen. The lesson to be learned from here is that those governors who normally, because I have questioned why a government of a state will enter into an MOU with a foreign body, like the Chinese body, to say, you are going to do export-free zone or processing zone in my country. You just sign and you go. You leave government, you didn't ask, what about the MOU you have signed? Like a particular state in Nigeria, in South, here, you find the government has signed more than 500 MOUs. And we have been asking in Edo State, let me be very specific. We have been asking in Edo State, what are you doing with this MOU? One is on drilling, one is on this, but none of them is working. So this is a typical example. Tomorrow night we'll now begin to hear that those MOUs that were entered, if you revoke, then the company might go against us and go to abroad and go and get a forfeiture of our assets. The third one is this, lesson to be learned here. Nigerians always blame Nigeria judiciary. The ex parte orders are anathema, to our proceedings or whatever. That judges grant it at their wills and caprices. You have found out today that ex parte orders is not just a Nigeria problem. The court in France, whether it lacks jurisdiction or not, we don't know, but gave an ex parte order for the attachment of the sovereign property of Nigeria. That is international law, which means the judiciary is at question, and at a point in time in the whole world, we have to find out whether some judicial officers are following the law, as case may be. It was an ex parte order that they got to do this. The fourth reason is this now. What is the government supposed to do? A government that is proactive, they cannot tell me, like I heard they said, since August 4th, they heard about this. What action did they take to vacate that order, arrest that order internationally, this as case may be? The AGF was even in contact with this particular company. I thought by now that the AGF would have filed something, in counter to vacate that particular order that was given, because export order is just like the one we have in Nigeria here. It's for a period of time. Go there and vacate it. Then you now state the fact and let the parties be put on notice. Like they have been scared now. You see what happened? It was because of the action that was taken 24 hours ago that made them to even say they should release one of the jets. Under which condition did they release that particular jet, to the president? Are you sure that the jet, as the case may be, on security purposes, they have to hold them responsible and make sure that that particular jet is scrutinized security-wise, because we don't know why they have to do that. Let me tell you, in Rwanda, one of the reasons that took place was called the reason why the war took place because of the president lost his life in an aircraft. So that aircraft, why the sudden release? Our national security advisor must go to France, scrutinize that this thing, and let the Chinese government indemnify that particular jet, that nothing is going to happen to it. Otherwise, I ask myself the question, because a lot of people have called me for my opinion on this, and my opinion on this, but it's Ogun State that this happened. It was not Nigeria. That is what I tell people. I always tell them that you should hold your governors accountable. But everybody in Nigeria is only about the president. Your governors enter into agreements that are unenforceable. And at the end of the day, this is a typical example. And you find that right now, the blame is on Nigeria. Why did they do that? Is under international law, there's a principle of vicarious liability. That when a particular sub-regional government is acting, that it cannot act without the consent of the national, government. And true to type, most of them, when they want to go into MOU these days, they don't even tell the federal government. You see them bring them in. This is a lesson to be learned, as case may be. So Ogun State, the liability of Ogun State has been visited on Nigeria, because Ogun State do not have properties outside of Nigeria, as case may be. So the vicarious liability and caution fell on Nigeria as a nation, to do that. So let them put their hands in order, and I believe that it's going to be like the PI and D case, where Nigeria was exonerated and was not able to pay 2.2 billion. You understand? So these are things that should be done. There should be legal examinations by the AGF that should be proactive, and by this time, President Tinubu should be speaking with the Prime Minister, whoever, of China, to say this is an assault and affront on the Nigerian nation, that you did not go for it, you went to take a presidential fleet. I mean, that is something that is not understandable. It's like you have a problem with America, they go and seize Air Force One. For me, this is something that is shocking in the international community. And I wait to see reactions from the appropriate quarters in Nigeria.
All right. Honorable Churchill, now there are questions around these issues. First of all, the 2023 Labour Party presidential candidate, when reacting to this story, said that it is an international embarrassment. And then he went further to say that Nigeria entered a deal to purchase presidential jets, and it was done in secrecy. However, Bayo Ononuga, the presidential spokesperson, came out to say that the presidential jets went to China for routine maintenance. Now, that even gives rise to other questions. There is already a litigation on ground, and if not for the seizure of these presidential jets, Nigerians probably would be unaware of this particular issue. So now there is a case, there is a litigation on ground, and federal government has been attached to the matter. Why do the routine maintenance in the same country where you have a case knowing that this might happen?
You see, just like the presidential candidate of Labour Party, His Excellency Peter Obi, everybody knows too well that the problem we have in this country is high level of corruption, and is affecting the whole system. There is a saying they used to say that pregnancy cannot hide forever. All these things that they are doing in this country, believe that they are harming the nation, they want to enrich themselves, they want to do this, will not last forever. China has come to the level of intimidating, embarrassing, and insulting Nigeria because Nigeria prayed for it. I would say that if not Nigeria belittle themselves up to the extent of going through our government officials to go and borrow money from fund from China, China wouldn't insult Nigeria. Even a child you give birth to, any day you tell your child to borrow you money, your child has started knowing that, yes, that your pocket is dry. So we involved ourselves in the problem that we are seeing today. I will say it clearly that most Nigerians believe that they are the owners of Nigeria and they can do things without what Nigeria...
Most Nigerians...
That is most of our
You mean politicians?
Politicians, not only politicians.
All right.
Most of our executives and aides within that surrounds the executive, that is the government officials.
Are they not politicians?
They are the government officials.
Are they the
I know
masses?
whenever I talk about government officials, you align them to politics, becoming politicians. Yes, they are politicians.
Are they the masses?
They are politicians. But one thing is they do some certain things as if they are the owners of Nigeria. They do things without conscience. You know, when you start doing things without conscience, you attract more cost to yourself. You attract more cost to yourself. Look at China seizing the aircraft of Nigeria and releasing it at the very because of one thing, that the president wants to travel. What do they? If anything happens to our president, will we hold China responsible? No. Just like Barrister Sima said, if they are not assuring Nigeria that this aircraft is safe, and if anything happens to this aircraft within the period of the traveling of the president, that they are responsible. Nigeria cannot fly with that. Our president should not fly with that aircraft. That is one. And again, Nigerians should see the relationship they are creating with other countries to be very, very, not very carelessly. You understand? They shouldn't be creating careless relationship with countries. You want to create a relationship with your enemy. Somebody that wants you dead. Somebody that wants to destroy you. Just like Barrister Sim said, there are two countries he mentioned, Uganda and Tanzania. If you look at those two countries that China has scrapped, finished, they've washed them, you will find out that the same thing is applicable. It's happening in Nigeria now. Look at the economy of Nigeria. We don't even know if what we enjoying ourselves into, that is what is happening to our economy. You know, bringing in a criminal to your environment can cause your things losing, missing anyhow without you knowing. Nigeria economy is, instead of appreciating, is depreciating daily.
Is that a function of bringing in or taking loan from China, or
no, we don't know where the
problem, or a function of bad economic policies, or ill-timed, probably policies with good intention but wrong timing? Is that a function of, having economic relationship with other countries, or a function of the leaders not fighting endemic corruption? Is it a function of the leaders? Because if you recall, even Elon Musk yesterday, when advising the government of the United States of America, told them that they have to cut down cost of governance. Is it a function of the governments not prioritizing what they should prioritize? For example, actually cutting down the cost of governance. Do you remember how many billions of naira that was used to purchase cars, fleets of vehicles for the unconstitutional office of the First Lady of Nigeria? Should we start looking into the take-home of the senators as exposed by Senator Kabu? Do we start looking into government expenses, government excesses when it comes to financial misappropriation and mismanagement? Is that the problem? Is it the economic mismanagement, misappropriation of funds, or relationship with countries of the world?
Okay, like you have said it, adding everything together, the cost of Nigeria emanates from there. Let me tell you, we borrowed money from China. We are servicing the loan. It's excessive. It's excessiveness of spending. It's excessive spending.
Who is to blame, China or Nigerian government?
What I'm telling you is the Nigerian government that involved themselves. I told you earlier that some of our government officials that went into this agreement with China, they are also part of the same government. You know, when people say, nah, the same people. You understand? The problem with the Nigerian government is that it's the same Qatar that is still holding our country. And that is the reason why there is nothing like change. The same people are operating in the same particular. You cannot correct a mistake you You understand? You purposely made. You purposely, this thing is a glass, and you break it, and you say you want to join it back. It's not possible. You purposely did it. The problem Nigeria is facing is by the same people that caused the problem. That is the reason why we are not seeing solution. So me, I am saying that, particularly for this particular aircraft seizure and release it, that Nigerians has been embarrassed. In short, including me and everybody, who have been embarrassed by this same China. And for we to correct this embarrassment, for it not to continue, that Nigeria has to take legal actions to ensure that this kind of thing, and whatsoever relationship they are creating with China, they should automatically cut it off, because we don't know before we turn to Uganda
Right.
or Tanzania. I'm telling you the truth.